Hello and welcome to the Bravo Outsider Podcast. I'm your host, Craig Midwinter, and I'm joined by Sandy Klowak. In case you hadn't noticed, we didn't have a show last week, but we did release a video essay on our YouTube channel. Head over there, subscribe, and check out What If Teresa Giudice Exploded in the Challenger Disaster. We're very excited to be joined today by Chris Mejia from the We Didn't Get a Rose podcast.
Oh shit. I thought I had my tagline ready. I don't like trouble unless I've caused it.
Oh, that's really good. Do you remember which housewife that was from?
Yes, Janet Roach from season 5 of Real Housewives of Melbourne.
Oh, crazy. An international pick. I love it.
And apparently, thank you very much for giving me this website that has basically a database of all of the taglines. But shout out to this website because they literally have every other housewives picture except for Janet. So I don't know what Janet did, but I think my assumption is when I see the fact that everyone else has a headshot but her, it says to me either A, this website doesn't recognize Melbourne as a part of the entire franchise,
right?
Or Janet has said some shit or done some shit that's probably going to make me regret using her tagline after I Google her.
Yeah, you're going to be canceled. No, but if that were the case, there would be like no headshots on some, like there are some franchises that have numerous canceled housewives. So you're probably safe. I haven't actually watched too much of the international housewife shows. I've watched the ones that are here in Canada. I've seen the Toronto one, which was like terrible, and the Vancouver one, which was amazing. But aside from that, I haven't really seen them. You guys cover The Bachelor, which also has some international franchises. Do you follow any of those?
So shout out to Mike who can't be here, but we only, at least for our podcast, we only cover the US version. I do know that there's like the Australian version, which I've never seen and I've always been wanting to watch because a couple of years ago they came out with a bisexual season where the Bachelorette was bisexual and they had both men and women as contestants. And that sounded amazing and like surprising because it like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette is such a, to this day, ABC caters it so much to like the Midwest conservative crowd.
Right.
Who I don't even know, like, I don't know if that crowd is still making up a large portion of the audience. So like it would make sense if that's the reason why and they're just catering to them. But at least everyone else is like, it's just like they try to make things seem cleaner and more wholesome, which is weird because there's a whole week fantasy suites, which is just a fuck week. Like that's just, hey, we're going to fuck this week. But they do everything but basically call that out and like make it seem like these grown ass adults after like being sexually repressed for like 8 weeks straight aren't going to go to this room and blow each other's backs out. So I've been wanting to watch the Australian version because the fact that they had a bisexual season makes me think that they're less likely to try to cater to like this Midwest conservative type of crowd. But also it's still the Bachelor and the Bachelorette franchise, which is, don't get me wrong, it was my gateway drug into reality TV. And now I love reality TV so much. But that being said, you know, it's in comparison to the rest of the reality TV I watch, it's one of the worst. It's truly just first couple episodes, amazing, great. And then the rest of the show sucks, except for the Golden Batch. The Golden Batch is phenomenal.
I have heard that from like a number of people who I don't even like have never talked reality TV with me, but they've recommended The Golden Bachelor. So I'm eager to check that out because it's been a while since I have watched The Bachelor. I used to watch it. I watched it for like a few seasons. I think the first season that I watched was Nick Vile's season.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would have kept watching it for so long if it wasn't for like Corinne Olympus or whatever her last name is.
Yeah.
Because she was reality TV gold. She was just like I mean, anyone that listens to our show knows that I love someone that is like villainous and like scheming. And so she was like the definition of that. And I feel like I was chasing that dragon just watching season after season. And you got kind of like a bit of a muted version of that when Demi came on, but it just wasn't exactly the same.
So one thing that you and your listeners should know about me is that I'm a bitch who loves mess. So whenever there is just truly an awful human being, and see, this is how I know The Bachelor and the Bachelorette is one of the worst reality TV franchises, because one, the fan base is like boring toxic, like not even fun toxic. They're just like live, laugh, love toxic. And then two, whenever there is someone like that who like, they're bad people, but they're giving us great television. People are always like, oh my God, like they're the worst because they're hurting people's feelings and all that. And it's like, we don't, if you're going to watch, thank you. Yes. Like if I wanted to watch an actual love story, I will watch a rom-com. Because it's going to be better written. I'm going to give more of a fuck about the people. And it's going to be more, it's hopefully less filler and like worth my time. I want fucking, like, for example, shout out to Luke P on Hannah Brown season. Truly demon of a human being. Amazing television. Shout out to Shanae on Clayton season. Truly, she needs to be locked up in a psychiatric ward ASAP. But before she's locked up, I need 3 more seasons of her on my television. Like, truly toxic, the better. Like, I understand these are real people and there's real mental and emotional trauma that is attached to the messy things they do. But you know what? Not my problem.
Yeah, exactly. Reality TV is blood sport, and we just need to recognize that and move on and embrace it. I feel you 100%. So have you watched Housewives before at all?
So for the longest time after getting into reality TV, there was 2 franchises people kept telling me to watch. Vanderpump Rules and Real Housewives. When Real Housewives of Salt Lake City came out, I tried to get into it because 1, a girl who I was dating at the time was trying to get me into it, and 2, Mormons are just if anyone's listening or y'all are Mormons, no disrespect, but the more I learn about Mormonism, the more I feel like people are fucking with me. And once I saw, I was like, oh, some of these ladies are Mormons. I have to watch the show. And I was told, like, I couldn't get into it after watching 4 or 5 episodes, but I think I want to make it clear that's not me like trying to look down on it or anything like that. I was so used to the drama and other shows being much more higher stakes. The vibe I got that Real Housewives, a lot of the drama is very low stakes stuff, but that's what because it just keeps building and building and gets better and better. So everyone that I know, when I tell that, they're like, you should have like just, you got to give them a season to like build the characters and all of that. Because then I heard that like one girl gets like arrested by the FBI, and then all of that shit. So I was just like, all right, I should have. So like coming back, it was actually kind of neat because like watching the episode for this podcast, I had to like go back and see like, oh shit, who's no longer here from the first scene? Like the girl who was fucking her dad. Stepdad, or
step grandpa.
Step grandpa. Oh yeah, that's. I totally forgot it was step grandpa. That sounds like an I think you should leave sketch. That's just truly like she's not there, and I feel like there's like maybe one other person who was on season 1 that isn't here, but yeah, so I tried to get into it. I couldn't get into it, but then I've been meaning to like just pick one city and just really watch it because so many people I know watch, like for example Atlanta or Potomac, or what's another? Everyone keeps telling me Beverly Hills is also like one of the apex ones. So I've been meaning to like I just need to pick a city and just like commit to it. but I haven't historically haven't seen a lot of it.
Yeah, it's interesting because like each city kind of has a different flavor, and especially like Salt Lake City, the church, even if the characters for the most part aren't Mormon anymore, like we've got some ex-Mormons and someone that is like kind of Mormon in name only, it seems. It still is like that whole city, the whole like social culture there is informed by the rules of the church, and how it shows up within the show is really fascinating, and you get that in certain ways in various other cities too. So they all kind of have a different flavor to them, which I really appreciate. Let's get into our highlights. Which of these shows stood out to you as like the most compelling?
Ooh, okay. So I think that's tough to answer because just like you said, they each had their own flavor. So like Salt Lake City, I think for me, since I already kind of started watching the show previously, it felt the most familiar. But then like Miami was wild because they were arguing about farting on a bus, and then that one lady was like, "Listen, if I'm gonna mark your territory, I'm gonna piss on you." And the husband was like, "Hell yeah, let's go." Which, listen, I'm sex positive, okay, all right. As long as your kink ain't illegal or causing harm to people, by all means, what you do in the privacy of your bedroom is up to you. I don't give a fuck. That being said, P's weird. P's a little weird. To each their own. To each their own. If y'all are into piss, then no, go ahead.
I'm not defending piss per se, but to me, that was not the takeaway from that scene. It was that they like to shit next to each other on double toilets. That was like,
you know what? I was so distracted by the piss that I completely just bulldozed past. Like, oh, you know what? It's funny. I actually just got into an argument about this. I was like shooting the shit with some comics, and we were talking about being comfortable with your partner. And like most women I've dated have been, no matter how long we've been dating, no matter how comfortable they are with me, still refuse to fart in front of me, and will like be like, I've never farted in front of you, and still try to hide it. And I'm like, just fart in front of me. It's not like a kink thing. I'm not like, let me get at it. It's just more like, I don't know, I want my girl to be comfortable, and to be comfortable, that doesn't include standing up to go to the other room to fart. Like, just do it here. We'll laugh about it. We'll keep it moving. And then that turned into like, because one comic, she's married, so she was talking about how she's like definitely like taking a shit, and her husband has come in, and then vice versa. And another comic was like, that's disgusting. I would never let like my person like come in while I'm taking a shit. I would never shit with the door open, all of that stuff. So like, as much as I'm comfortable about the farting, like I close the door when I shit out of respect. You know, my mother raised me right. Shitting at the same time in toilets next to each other, like I want to hate, but at the same time, I feel like that's because I'm poor and I can't afford to have two toilets in the same bathroom next to each other.
Oh no, you just put them like facing each other with a nice like chessboard in between, and you're set for an afternoon.
Oh no, not a chessboard. Like when you go to those bars and they have the arcade tabletop, where you get to play Pac-Man and put your drinks on top. It's that. That's, if you have that in your bathroom, then I'm on board. I'll shit in front of my girl with that. Yeah.
So I guess we're starting with Miami then. Aside from the double toilets, what were your highlights?
So I won the celebrity basketball game because I love I love basketball period, but then I love celebrity basketball games because they usually have celebrities who have no business playing sports.
Yeah.
Play sports. And that's not a dig against the Housewives. That's no matter the gender. They will often have people doing these all-star games where it's like like there's definitely sometimes, like for example, like Quavo is known for being good at basketball, and that's like, okay, now we're watching a real basketball game. But when they get like the local weatherman to like play basketball, like no one asked for this, but it's also funny. So seeing all of these women fresh after having a verbal Royal Rumble and then bully, I forget who it was, but they bullied that one woman while she was just like, okay, don't get me wrong, like bullying is bad, but like if everyone in the room is talking shit about you and you're not going to say anything back, why would you stay in the room?
Yeah.
Like, why not just leave? Go to the water fountain, like go to the concessions, something. So the basketball game was entertaining because it was very much you could tell like no one was good at basketball, but you can tell that those who were competitive weren't going to let that stop them from trying to win the game.
You had a Pippen you had a Pippen there, you had a Jordan there, and they like neither of them were the most talented athlete in the room. The most talented athlete in the room actually wasn't even on the court because Martina Navratilova was sitting on the sideline, who's a tennis legend. But yeah, it was really interesting to see like Adriana not do anything when she was being bullied at all. I think one of the things that is kind of unique about shows like Housewives or even competition reality shows like The Bachelor or Big Brother, more like is a show that I'm more familiar with, is when you're in that situation, as a person, you would think that you would have the instinct to leave, but like as a game player, you don't want to forfeit any potential leverage that might come out of that situation. Like, you know, you want to know what information is going around the room about you or whatever. And like Adriana's been doing this for a long time. And for some reason, she's not like a full blown housewife. She's just considered like friend of, which is the tier below housewife. But like she knows what she's doing. She plays she plays dumb, but she like plays the game hard.
You know what? Shout out. That's a good point. Shout out to her for knowing if I leave the room, I don't get screen time. And if I don't get screen time, my check is going to be smaller. So you know what? I'm not going to judge her anymore because would I let myself get bullied if it meant I was going to get a fatter check from a TV network?
Yeah.
I am man. Oh shit. Yeah. It really. Oh, I didn't realize that's Larsa Pippen.
Yeah.
Did you not recognize her?
Yeah. No, like I honestly, it didn't click in my head. Yeah. I didn't realize, oh shit. Okay. You know what? I'm going to start watching Miami because Larsa Pippen, I want to do like a thesis on her because she is the most unhinged person I could ever know. So that's
she's dating Michael Jordan's son now, which is
don't even get me started on that. Do they cover that on this show?
Yeah, he was there. He was coaching her team for the celebrity basketball.
That was
game.
him?
Yeah, that was him.
Okay. Clearly I'm exposing I have ADHD and I wasn't paying attention to the little details. Okay. Wow. All right. Okay.
Yeah. It was pretty wild. Yeah, I do want to just follow on like what you said about Adriana. And she did actually leave at one point, which was really, I thought she like picked her moment to leave, which was like at the very tail end of the episode when everyone was singing happy birthday to Alexia. She decided to leave and she made sure to get like a little zinger in there so that she still got the camera time. She's looking in the mirror and being like, oh, I'm saving my vocal cords for Emilio Estevan. I'm not going to sing for Alexia, which like, it was funny, but like, it seemed like a very like strategic way to like leave, but still like bring the scene with her.
Yeah. Really,
really love her kind of, you know, awareness that she is great at downplaying.
So I have a question for y'all. Because with The Bachelor and Bachelorette, it's known for producers stepping in and manipulating things to create drama because they don't know how to cast well. So because of that, they have to create drama instead of just casting naturally messy people. So because of that, like there's a lot of moments where you can tell like, okay, this is drama, but this is so clearly the producers stepping in and causing some shit. So then that way they have some sort of content for the show.
Yeah.
For Housewives, is there producer manipulation, or are all of these women just so naturally messy that the producers don't really got to step in like that?
Well, it's definitely both. There is definitely an element of like producers stepping in and manufacturing drama, but one advantage that Housewives has over something like The Bachelor or any reality show where you've got, not a lot of returning people is that, most of these personalities have, seasons in front of the camera, and they like know how to play the game a little bit. I think I think when you see a season with like a brand new cast, that's where you can kind of see the
producer
hand
manipulation.
In a lot more of a raw form. Like we just got the Real Housewives of New York rebooted, so brand new fresh cast, and there was like things that felt really like, situations that seemed like they were forced together, and a lot of the drama, like you mentioned about like season 1 of Salt Lake City, it's pretty like low stakes and stuff like that, and so you can see what the producers are doing a little more transparently there, but after that, like all these women will have existing relationships with each other, and they've got all that context built up. So the producers don't need to do that as much. They can still, lead things and construct, situations where a confrontation will happen, but the interactions are so much more loaded at that point because, the cast knows how to play the game. They know like kind of their style of how they want to try to, tell their story throughout the season. They're a bit more like their own storyteller. Some are like way better at it than others. Some are very good at, self-producing or just letting their personality navigate the situations and just like roll with the punches of whatever comes from that season. But it's definitely a mix, and producers definitely have a hand in manufacturing things.
So the reason why I asked that is because they're like so expertly in all of the episodes that I saw, there will be a moment where it seems like things die down or whatever, and just every time there's always. So I'm noticing like every time what will happen is, hey, let's go do this thing together. Even though I know this girl hates that girl, let's just all do it because it's either A, my birthday, B, I just did something that I want to celebrate, C, some other reason where it's like we need to get together to celebrate X, Y, and Z. And then they get together, and then it's always like, I don't want to come, but I'm going to come because you told me that bitch is going to apologize to me. And then they show up, and everyone's like all like doing their very like almost like US Russia Cold War. Like I'm here because y'all told me to be here, but the second they go off, I'm gonna go off. And then one person starts it and it's always out of nowhere. They start some shit, and then they yell back and forth. And then there's always one person in the group who didn't want to be there at all, and they're just kind of just like eating popcorn, just watching the shit go down. And then finally, when things seem calm, there's always one girl who's either related to the drama or a part of the drama or unrelated at all, who does the little, we're almost like stepping in the room and going, hey, but remember, she says some shit about your feet too. And then just like steps out. And it's just like, it's so, every time I've seen it, it was just so expert of like, we just achieved peace. We were almost there. And then one of y'all just came in with like a grenade and just exploded some shit. And just truly, that's why I asked. Cause it's like, oh, it was like so expertly where I'm like, is that a producer telling them to come in and say some shit? Or is that on their own? And I hope it's them on their own, because if so, that's Hall of Fame mess right there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's both. Like some of the housewives, you can tell that they're just really good at stirring things up because they're always the one to do it, and they always know exactly what to say to like set a situation off. Giselle on Potomac is great at that. I think Whitney on Salt Lake City is typically like very good at that. Tamra is like a master at it on Orange County. So yeah, I think there's definitely sometimes where the person that says that is like, it feels like it's coming out of left field because they're not that type of housewife. And so it's like, okay, they got fed this by the producer, but for the most part, it's them, the casting team, doing a great job of making sure they've got a good mix of personalities that are able to, do the bidding of, or do the like stirring shit up.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Did you have any other highlights from Miami?
Honestly, the fart bus rumble and the basketball game and the whole peeing on, like, they just, and that's the thing, they just threw in. I don't know if that was already a big storyline in a previous episode, so if it was, my bad. But like, they just threw in the whole "I'll piss on you if I want to mark my pet territory," and then just carry on with the episode as if that wasn't like, hold up, hold on, let's go back. Yeah. Those were really the two things that like really stood out to me from the episode.
Yeah, Chris, one thing that you mentioned about like Todd, how like freely he was like offering up, how excited he was at the prospect of being peed on. One thing that like stood out to me about that is Todd has always come across as, on a lot of these reality shows, you have these guys, like straight men are always feeling like awkward in front of the camera being on these shows specifically because, they're like female coded or whatever the reasoning behind that is. And he's definitely like one of those guys that is like, has that kind of air about him where he thinks he's like better than this content and like very like closed off as a result. And for that to be the one thing where he's like, being like, yeah, actually, I'm like super into this. Like, that's how he's like being vulnerable in this situation is just like so funny to me that like he's clearly someone that is like picking and choosing like what element of his personality is something that is going to like best perform his masculinity, and that was what he chose.
It was very funny because he was also like, at one moment he went on that whole rant where he was just like, they talking shit about my family and then you expect me to just break bread with them, and he's talking about it like he's talking in this tone like it's a scene straight from Godfather where he found out like someone murdered his like cousin nephew or whatever. And like, it's just like, bro, you like, why you acting above this? All right, you getting a check. I know you a capitalist, you rich. So just shut up, get your check, smile for the goddamn camera, and just stop acting like you better than this. Cause you ain't. If you were truly better than this franchise, you would have told your wife, we ain't doing this franchise. But you saw a check and you get in it. So like, it is wild that guy the whole time trying to be like, I'm above this. And he's just like, hey, hold up. First and foremost, I want y'all to know your boy has money. Second off, my wife, she's fucking hot. Third of all, she's younger than me. Don't look at the age difference. Fourth of all, I like getting pissed on. I need y'all to know that. All right, good night. And I love how that came out. And like, what does he do for business? Like, what's his career?
I don't know what his career is actually. Sandy, do you?
No, I don't.
Sandy, what were your highlights from Miami?
My highlights were Adriana being really mad about the people talking about her in the bathroom. The quote was, they spew their poisonous venom like vipers. I really liked that, especially considering it was talking about just repeating the information that she told them she was flatulent. As far as Julia's opera storyline, I'm super not into it because I only want a medium bad singing storyline if it's paired with a delusional attempt at a musical career. So this is way too sincere and sweet, and I'm not enjoying it.
No, I love it. Oh man, it is like that was a highlight for me, is the fact that Julia is pursuing this career, because it's like she chose something that is so unattainable. Like, she didn't just choose to like to sing something like medium difficult. She chose opera, and something that is like you either have it or you don't. And if you do have it, you need years and years of training in order to finesse it. And so the fact that like she chose that is pure insanity. And the scene that we got where she was performing this song in like Adriana's tiny little piano room, like no shade, I don't have a piano room, so but like her tiny room where they're like all squished into this one corner, and Adriana is like very seriously like playing the piano and very focused, and then we've got this guy who is like clearly a very talented singer, not like he's not coming off that great, but he like, you know, he's clearly way more talented than Julia, and to get that as like this benchmark that she can't hit, and this awkward room, I thought it was beautiful.
I wish I had that level of self-confidence that I could just be like, I could pick up opera singing. Like, yeah, like I could do that. Like just no training, no expertise, no talent, what, you know, or at least no like talent in the sense of I know this is some shit that I can do. I truly, if I had that level of just delusional self-confidence, sky's the limit of how much further in life I'd probably be, because to just think that's something, because like you said, opera singing, that's shit that like, it's not just you can sing, like that's like you have distinct niche singing talent that most people who can sing can't do. So the fact that she's like, yeah, I'll just pick up opera singing, like how hard can that shit be, is just honestly inspirational.
I feel like confidence is like squandered on the worst people, like the people that just get like so like confident that they're gonna be like, you know, whether it's like opera or like stand-up comedy, it's just like, or anything really, like it's just like the worst schmucks think that they're gonna just step into it, be a natural, and like, you know, take off and just be I don't know. It's the worst. It's like if I were to be like, oh, I'm going to be in the Olympics next Olympics for gymnastics, and like just start training right now.
It's legit. Shout out to this show. It's no longer on TV. It hasn't been on TV for a long time. They need to bring it back. Joe's versus Pros. I don't know if they had
I remember
that in Canada,
name,
but it was literally where they would get like regular ass dudes who would be like, I could play for the Lakers. Like I could play better than fucking Anthony Davis right now. And they're just like, okay, all right, bet. Here you go. You're going to play against real pros in this sport. And spoiler alert, the Joes usually never win. Rarely won. It was like this, or the same as like when that one show where there would be like a bully of a school. So then they had the bully fight a professionally trained like UFC fighter.
A professional bully.
And it was just like, I forget what that one was called, which honestly in hindsight is like hilarious that America was like, what if we made a TV show where we took school bullies and had them fight like Conor McGregor or some shit like that. Yeah, we got to bring more of that shit back, but it was basically that same vein of like, I could do this, and then and it's like no one's gonna tell them, no one's gonna tell her that maybe pick a different lane.
Yeah. Sandy, did you have any other highlights from Miami?
No, those were my top ones.
Cool. I think we covered most of what I wanted to talk about for Miami. I do want to just briefly touch on the scene that we got with Lisa and her new boyfriend, Jody, like her bringing the kids around and being like, oh yeah, I've introduced them as like Uncle Joe. They probably think he's gay. Like it's no big deal. And then we just got this really kind of awkward family moment there that she was trying to like make happen. I don't know. Jody comes across as like a little bit of a I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. There's no evidence that he's a loser, but he just gives off loser vibes.
Yeah.
But he was really trying his best, and the unicorn looked trash according to Lisa's son. So just a really funny scene to me. Let's move on. Chris, would you prefer to talk about Salt Lake City or Beverly Hills next?
I have no preference. So just so you know, Salt Lake City was the first one I watched, and then I watched Beverly Hills, and then I rounded it all at the end with Miami. So I don't know why I gave that information. It's actually not relevant, but I guess actually let's talk about Beverly Hills.
Yeah, let's get into it. What were your highlights there?
So first and foremost, I almost shit myself laughing at Sutton being like, "Name it," right out of the gate, when she's like, "Name it," and then which one was it? Kyle was just like, "Okay," and then as she's trying to do like and name it, she would interrupt her and go and be like, "Name it." Name it, name it. And she's like, "Bitch, I'm trying." That had me dying. That was so, their whole beef was really funny. Garcelle, like when she was with her kids, that was really cute because it was just like I don't know, like it's really easy, since a lot of these people on these shows, it's really easy to think that they're just like these mean people or anything like that. But like watching that was kind of sweet because it's like for the housewives that are moms, where it's just like seeing them have those moments with their children, it's just like, oh, this is like, that's right, like y'all are people, and like you're a parent, like you're a mom and all that. And it's just kind of, it helps like humanize them a little bit. But then when she was just like, sometimes people think that Jade is like more like a boyfriend than my son, and I was just like, that's not how you word that. That's not how you word that. I get what you're trying to say, because y'all have more of like a buddy dynamic than you do mother and son, but like out of all of the words in the English language. Also, shout out, I didn't realize Garcelle, I didn't realize that she was from the Jamie Foxx show. So for the longest time, when they premiered her movie, I was like, that's really cute that they're going to let her act on Lifetime. And then a homie of mine was like, how dare you? Like, she's already famous. And then I Googled her. I'm like, oh shit. All right, my bad. Like, I'm disrespectful. Another highlight for me was just Sutton just randomly knowing Jennifer Tilly. Like, she appeared on the screen and I was like, what the fuck? Jennifer Tilly? Like the Jennifer Tilly? And then
they're best friends apparently. We found that out this season.
Random as hell. I went on a random Wikipedia binge on Jennifer Tilly. Didn't know that she got super into playing poker, and like,
oh yeah, she's amazing at poker, and like was
a professional poker player for a while. So shout out to her. Another highlight was Erika trying. Oh, so first and foremost, when Erika's mom comes and just clearly, they even had the timer of how long they've been together and how long they can last. And then that fucking weird ass plastic Barbie suit that she was wearing.
Yeah, in the confessionals.
Did y'all notice that? Yeah. That was, I remember I was like watching it and I saw it and I had to rewind it because I was like, no. You can't just introduce that outfit and then move on. That was pretty wild. And then also shout out I didn't know Denise Richards used to be a cast member of the show.
Yeah.
But she was a surprise. That was a nice surprise to see, of like, oh shit, Denise Richards showing up.
Yeah. And then we got a crazy clip in the stinger at the end of the show that was previewing next week, where Denise is making the wildest faces I have ever seen at the table. Looks like it's going to be just like an all-time episode with, Sutton versus Kyle going down, and we've got Denise like acting completely out of her mind at the table, and Camille is there too. So one of the all-time greats.
Ooh.
I want to go back to what you said about this Kyle Sutton scene, because like we got the extended version of this like name 'em thing that Sutton was doing in the previous episode, and to have it just like continue into this week. It was like she had been doing just name 'em all week until the episode picked up. I thought it was amazing. And then we got a highlight reel of Sutton like being pretty iconic, like, you know, flipping out on Crystal in Crystal's first season over the like ugly leather pants and the roller scene and stuff like that. I just really loved this scene. I was glad that it, since we didn't have a show last week, that we were able to like revisit this and talk about it. But yeah, Garcelle's movie, holy shit. You would not know that she like made a name for herself in acting from watching these clips. Like
if you would have told me that, like, first and foremost, when it said that it was on Lifetime, I was like, okay, tracks. But like, honestly, I find it more believable if that movie would have been on Tubi, because that screamed some like Tubi got a better budget than usual, but like still it's a Tubi movie, so like it's still low quality. It was, and I understand they can't show the whole movies, and like it was clear that they were purposely not trying to show spoilers and shit like that.
Yeah.
But and so they had to like cut it up together to kind of show you the highlights, but it was just still very much like student film.
Yeah.
Feeling.
Yeah, that's being generous. Like the clips
oh
they
yeah,
chose.
not like Juilliard student film, like not US, like, which is actually funny because like USC is right there. You could have had way better help with a student film, and it felt very much like it was like local, like Midwest local state film competition.
Yeah, like a high school English project level acting.
Yeah, like someone's dad has access to a red camera, so they had a higher quality video, but the acting and writing was the same. And then when she kicked the perpetrator, and then the housewife was like, Garcelle seems like this innocent person, but if you do her wrong, she's gonna kick you in the stomach. It's just all right. I don't think that does as much damage as you think it does.
Sandy, what were your highlights from Beverly Hills?
I guess other than the Garcelle comparing her son to her boyfriend, I definitely noted. And otherwise, Erika and her mom was kind of interesting. I am liking the sort of mom-daughter themes we're seeing in a lot of these franchises right now. That's kind of across the board. They're pretty interesting seeing those dynamics. You kind of learn more about these characters, some of whom you know pretty well. I was kind of sad for Erika to learn her house is like a one-bedroom house, because I know she's poor now, but that's tough, man. One bedroom, sleeping in the same bed as your mom when she visits. I like their fight.
Yeah.
And I want to mention when we get to Salt Lake City, kind of looking at the discrepancy with some of the housewives' socioeconomic status these days, and how that looks for the show. But yeah, Erika and her mom, they were talking about this argument where they weren't talking for a year because Erika's like, after you hung up on me. And mom's like, no, you hung up on me. She's like, right, I hung up on you because you were being shitty to me. But what was that about? Because it was some sort of thing that Erika was trying to like get her mom to legit stop talking about on camera. It was like, her mom said, how many times did you ever go to that farm in 20 years? 3? So do we know what that's about?
Yeah, it was about...
I didn't look it up or anything.
I think it was about Tom Girardi. Something like, it was a line of questioning about Tom Girardi, who is now facing charges for like taking money from victims that he represented. But yes, it was clearly like she stopped talking to her mom because her mom was probing about Tom. And like, yeah, Erika obviously knew way more than she is saying she did, and so she was trying to shut that shit down. And then her mom brought it up again in front of the cameras, and Erika shuts it down again. Like, I don't know. One of the things that I really love about this season of Beverly Hills so far, and this is a season of Housewives that I was not really looking forward to going into it, but I find that Erika is on just a really compelling phase of her journey. Like, we got the first like 3 seasons or so of Erika where she was like at the top. She's going on world tours in her pop career. She's in the biggest house on the cast. She's got like the rich husband. Everything is there, and we have seen her just like fall and like just spiral and just like grasping at any like hold that she can. And it's really compelling to me to see all these pieces of her getting like stripped away and like to see kind of what is left and, you know, how she is trying to rebuild. Erika isn't one of my like favorite housewives, but her story is a great one. And for me, it's a very like compelling thing to watch this season. Yeah, I think the dynamic with her mom, all the scenes that we got there, they were short but and like comical, but there was a subtext there that I thought really added a lot to Erika's journey as a character within, you know, the narrative of Beverly Hills.
So is she poor now because of the divorce, or did some other shit happen?
Yeah, so her husband is like Tom Girardi, who is like the Aaron Brockovich lawyer, and he embezzled like a ton, like millions and millions of dollars from like victims that he represented. It was supposed to go to them, and he stole it and kept it and didn't pay them, and so he's facing like federal charges, and it was like a huge scandal, and so all of their money is tied up in this, and he is now like I think pretending to be completely senile to try to like get out of these charges, and they're estranged. And yeah, she went from having like a ton of money to having like nothing. Like her earrings were taken from her, and she's basically starting from nothing.
Okay, that's what oh, that's what this dude looks like. God damn. Okay. Wow. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. All right. I was picturing way younger. And are we sure he's pretending to be senile? Because he looks very senile in this Google image I'm seeing. Okay, this man looks like he was born when they invented money. Okay. Got it. Okay. Well, you know what? You know, it's not about looks.
Yeah.
It's about money, and she lost all of that.
Some people have a type, and you know, some people's type is the type that gets visited by 3 ghosts on Christmas. That's
some people have a type, and hers is hospice, apparently. Also, Erika kept distracting me because she looked like a Kmart Jane Krakowski.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could see that.
There's definitely. I'm not saying white women look like, but it just there was like a couple moments where like she even kind of spoke like Jane's character from 30 Rock. Yeah. So that's what I'm not just saying. Oh, they're both white. They're both blonde. They look alike. But yeah, outside of that, okay, that makes sense. Because I was wondering, I was like, oh, like I knew based off of conversations, okay, she was divorced, but I didn't think the divorce was going to hurt her that bad, where she was like in a 1-bedroom, which was so funny that she's just like, oh my God, I'm like so poor. I'm in a 1-bedroom. Like, girl, you're not sharing a studio with 4 homies of yours. Like, I think like, yeah, I know you're going through a lot, but like, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I loved like her mom kind of like getting a sense of how dire the situation is, that Erika can only afford to have the cleaner come once a week as opposed to every day. Like she's like, oh, I didn't know I had to start the dishwasher. I thought you had someone that did that.
That shit was so. Why'd you not clean your dish? Well, where's your maid? I can only afford them once a week. Also, that's how you know. It's so funny how like we like rich people will make fun of each other because the shit like that of just like, oh, Janet's maid only comes twice a week, and it's just like, I wish I could have a maid come once a week. I don't have.
You
that
ever
in my
notice
budget.
she only invites people over on a Tuesday or Thursday? Yeah, Sandy, did you have any other highlights from Beverly Hills?
No, I think I'm good. Though I have to say, like, I don't know. I was like, wow, Erika is really roughing it, and I believe me, guys. I'm not. I don't have a maid any day of the week, but I feel like at some point in my life, I could get a cleaning service in once a week. Like that's like a realistic goal in my lifetime, and so that makes me see how far she has fallen. So I don't know. Depends how you look at it, but
probably one of those things. It's cheaper than you think. Like, I feel like it's probably one of those things where it's cheaper than you think, but it's still not like the average person isn't going to be like, all right, let's get a cleaning person.
It's also not like a maid. It's a cleaning service. They're not like bringing you your tea or what. You know what I mean? Like it's not a butler.
Yeah, like a butler,
you know. So I don't know. I feel like if you're someone who's now asleep, like I don't know. I just think she's fallen far. She's fallen far, and she has to sleep in a bed with her mom. And I guess I have a little sympathy for her. What can I say? I don't know.
No, it's sad for her, but it's also just like,
yeah, she's not on the streets.
It makes me want to watch the show. Yeah, well, it just makes me want to watch the show more because she's going to have moments like that where it's just like, look at you being a peasant like the rest of us. Like, I know that's just eating her up inside.
It totally is. And you know what the craziest thing was? It was, and Craig, right, when this all happened, she clearly lost. She's got it back now. Like, I think she's spending all her money on her face and keeping it like up and fresh because whatever happened right when this all blew up, she could not maintain her like whatever weekly treatments was going on because she looked very different. Like she aged like, I mean, we can't really talk about aging like with the stuff these people are doing. You can't even tell what age they might even look or normally look, but she looked different, like a normal person all of a sudden, a normal 52-year-old. It was kind of stunning to see the change. And now she's back, right, to her old self. So she's not doing a maid, but she's doing her.
She must be spending a lot of it. Yeah. I think we got her like the guy that did her glam. Is it Mikey or whatever? We saw him this season, but we didn't see him doing glam, I don't think. I think we saw him like having coffee with her, like, and he was billed as like friend of Erika as opposed to, you know, part of her like glam service. So it's definitely like a reduced amount of glam, but yeah, she is, I don't know, she's starting to glow back up.
I'm talking about more than glam though. Like I'm talking about surgery, injection. I'm no expert on that, but it was absolutely not just makeup. It was like keeping the skin up or whatever it was. And I only comment on that. I don't usually do that, but just because it seemed like it was related to her income dropping, and it was very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like she was the one where there was a lot of talk about her like being on Ozempic, or one of the notable like Ozempic housewives early on, that she was like, oh no, just hormones. It's just, you know, just hormones that are making me lose all this weight. But I thought like this season of Beverly Hills has been a real surprise for me. I think I said when we were previewing this season, I'm not really looking forward to this. And it's not, I've been surprised at how engaged I am with this, because I don't think that there's a lot of like, of the housewives that are really like bringing it in terms of like driving conflict or having like a lot of there's not a lot of like tension between the housewives that are really that's really interesting, aside from, you know, Kyle versus Sutton. That feels like the most classic like housewife type dynamic that we've got here in terms of like a season long conflict. And I think it seems like we were shaping up to having a little bit of that with Dorit and Garcelle, but it looks like that is being put to bed a little bit, although the rumors on social media say otherwise. But what's really interesting to me this season is just how much of like the personal stories we're getting, and how these characters are being like fleshed out in ways that are independent of the group, that I feel like we haven't got in past seasons, just because we've had like huge like forces to drive the conflict. Like Lisa Rinna was like an all-time great housewife. Like she's not like the most lovable housewife of all time, but she's an all-time great in terms of like being able to like really bring the drama and just like lean into that role. But with her absent, I think that we're seeing a lot more. There was a scene that we got with Crystal, which I thought was probably the most compelling scene of this episode for me, where she was there just over dinner talking with her like husband Rob, who was about her relationship with her brother. And we got to see like such a range of emotion from Crystal about this, where she was like embodying so many different roles. Like it started off with her, in her role as a mother, where she's like has this dynamic with her son. She's like giving him a little bit of a hard time about his hair being too long, and then she like kind of gets the kids to leave to go watch Back to the Future, and they have this like really raw discussion about her brother and kind of how she's very reluctant to admit the guilt that she feels over being like one of the core reasons why him and his fiance broke up. I really liked seeing her kind of deal with that in like a lot of different ways. She was like dealing with it kind of like subtly and kind of she was then projecting some anger towards her husband Rob, who was like reading her completely, and she like seemed a little unhappy about that. And we got this FaceTime with her brother, who like had been crying and was then reluctant to like talk about it on camera. I just thought this was so interesting to see her personal story and deal with something that it seemed like truly personal and vulnerable, and we got to see so many dynamics at play. I thought that was really great. And Crystal has been someone that has been a little bit of a forgettable housewife up until now, and the fact that we're seeing more of this side of her, I'm really enjoying that from her, because I think like that type of like vulnerability and that like that story is like a really good fit for her as a character on this show.
So with that whole thing with Crystal, like first and foremost, the eight-year-old watching Back to the Future is wild, because I love Back to the Future. That's one of my favorite movies. But also like, yes, obviously that kid's gonna be too young to realize that there's a whole sexual assault scene in that movie. But aside from that, it also threw me off when she was talking about the ex-fiance, because they pull up a picture of her brother and the ex-fiance, and I don't know why, but I was so thrown off and unexpected by the fact that they blurred her face that I instantly busted out laughing, because I know it's because rights, like they didn't sign like a waiver, so like I understand it's that, but for a split second my brain believes that the reality was they blurred her face to be petty, and that was just so funny to me. But then it was like, shout out to her husband, who was like, maybe being a little too like inserting himself, but at the same time like was, in my personal opinion, doing like the right thing of like, hey, you need to talk about this with him, and like just basically like interjected on the call and was like, I honestly kind of did something that like I've basically done as a homie to friends, of like been like, hey, I know I'm not being like delicate, but like you need to come to terms with this thing, and I know if you put it off you're never going to, so let's do this shit now. And it just felt like her husband, you could tell that it was very good intention of like, you need to talk about this thing with your brother right now. And then it was just sad. Like, you could tell the brother was going through it and just like didn't really want to have to like cry on FaceTime on camera like that.
Yeah.
But it was overall, it was kind of a weirdly beautiful moment in this show that I just wasn't expecting to see. That I'm sure there's probably lots of beautiful moments like this, but like I just wasn't expecting that. So it was like that felt like out of everything I've seen on any of these franchises, that felt like the most human, real thing that I could see on the show. So it was like kind of like it threw me off where I was like, oh wow, that was like an act, like that was like for real, for real. That was okay, cool. All right, okay, Beverly Hills. All right, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, it's one of those like examples of like a scene where there's someone on camera that is like using the camera as a tool in order to like empower them to have like a real conversation, because they know that they can have this in front of the camera and like they will get a certain outcome. Like one person that we've seen do like use the camera as a tool really well is Ashley Darby. Like when we see scenes with her and Michael, she is like leveraging herself in front of the like she's leveraging like the position of the camera in order to have these conversations and like force a little bit of like accountability or like just to generate like some receipts that she can use at a later date. She's like really effective at doing that. I remember Brandy Redmond from Dallas doing that a few times with her husband. And yeah, I think that like it's surprising to see someone that is not a housewife do that, because I can't remember anyone doing that. But I guess Rob is like, you know, he's a director, so he kind of has a little bit of a intuition about that sort of thing too. But yeah, you brought up Crystal's kids going to see Back to the Future. It didn't register to me, but I was just like realizing that we got this scene right after the scene where Garcelle called her son more like a boyfriend, and that's a very similar dynamic to what we got in Back to the Future. So a little bit of a callback there. Yeah, I don't think I've got anything else to touch on for Beverly Hills. Let's get into Salt Lake City. Chris, what were your thoughts on this?
So Salt Lake City, first and foremost, Heather, right off the bat, because I forgot is it Heather? Yes, Heather. So Heather and her husband have real, like, if you would have shown me a scene of those two, didn't tell me anything at all about them, I would have thought that's very sweet that Heather is still on a good relationship with her father.
Is it
is it not Heather? It was the blonde girl who went on the podcast.
Oh, Whitney.
Oh, is that Whitney?
So Whitney goes on Meredith's podcast with her husband.
Oh, okay. Now I'm noticing the difference. Okay, yeah. So Whitney, if you would have shown me Whitney and her husband and told me nothing about them, I would have thought Whitney is still very close with her father. They just know, like, it was very like she screams those people, you know, who go from being daddy's girl to daddy's girl, if you get what I'm saying. And it was just that, just seeing that was what her husband was. That's not what I was expecting at all. And he screamed what you were talking about earlier of like those dudes who are like, this whole thing's beneath me. I don't want to be here. Looks very uncomfortable on camera. And that whole podcast altogether was so, it almost felt like when a TV show, like the characters in the TV show are starting a podcast. Like all I could think about was when, I don't know if y'all watch It's Always Sunny, but when Dennis and Dee try to start a podcast and Dennis is just over the top being like, yeah, I hear that there's a war going on. Can you tell us that the husband had that energy so much? And it was just so, that whole shit was like weird. And then I understand this was editing, But it was just still funny to be like, hey, what's like the freakiest thing you've done? Oh, you had sex under his desk? That's hilarious. Anyway, what's the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to you? Like, that was, like, I'm sure they edited that together and there was some more stuff in between. But that was some real Oprah shit where it was just like Oprah would be like, everyone gets a new car. Hell yeah, we're going to go to commercial break. And then they come back from commercial break and they'll be like, 1 million children die from hunger every year. It's just like, Jesus, Oprah, we were just giving away cars. What are we doing here? So that was wild. And then the whole, whatchamacallit, when Heather, now I have the right lady this time, when Heather was on the phone with her daughter and was being like, yo, we need to like, you need to remember the day that the church was founded. And then she's just like, it brings me so much joy to force my daughter to learn about her Mormon culture. And I immediately thought, you are lucky you have money, because if you did not, she would never come home for Christmas ever again. You are so lucky she needs to be on that will, because she would never answer your calls. She would not come home for Thanksgiving. If she was pregnant, you would find out on Instagram and not through a text message. That was very, and then the whole group outing at the end where making them wear bonnets, which all of them did not want to do at all. And just the argument between Lisa and Monica at the very end. And then I forget who it was, but one of the women was standing up and she just breaks the glass on the floor.
Yeah, and yells Opa, but not like celebratory Opa. It's just like a commanding Opa.
Like that moment, if I was there, I would have been like, bitch, there goes our security deposit. Like, why are you doing that shit? But that was really, those were the big things that and then I know, which housewife was it where she had a whole, it was Angie, where like her and her husband had a whole conversation at dinner. And it just went into like this whole, like, we don't have sex anymore and like we need to connect again. And at first I thought they're gonna have like a fight, and then they were like mature about it, where they're like, okay, well, what do we need to do to like rekindle this? And it's just like, we need to spend more time together and all that. And I was like thrown off because I was waiting for there to be this big thing, and it's just like, oh, y'all are being adults about this. Like, okay, all right, cool. No, great for y'all, boring for me, but yeah, great for y'all, I guess.
But he's not in a position to like have a fight over this, because there's all sorts of rumors like swirling about his like sexuality and how he's got like men all around town, and so he's got to like play the game now.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was a very awkward and loaded dinner. And
no wonder he's so busy. He's slinging dick around town.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and then also another moment that I thought was fun was when Monica was talking about her family with her daughter. And she busts out the photo albums, and she does that thing that old people love to do, where it'll be like, back in my day, we didn't have this, we had these, where she was like, back in my day, we didn't have cameras, or no, we didn't have phones, we had cameras. And it's like, we know what cameras are. Okay. Young people know what cameras are. Honestly, cameras and Polaroid pictures making a comeback right now, so people are aware. You don't have to explain what a photo album is. It's not like a fax machine, like we know, or it's not like a landline, like we know what it is. And then it was so funny, she just kept going on and like, we had photo albums and we had to put all of our photos in this album. And the daughter was like, just show me the goddamn album. Like, it was so funny to me, where she's just like, fucking, I get it, I'm younger, just show me the photos already. But yeah, those were really like out of the episode, those were the big moments that really stood out to me.
Sandy, how about you?
Yeah, I definitely noted Angie's date. Definitely awkward. Maybe like a little bit, like it was kind of relatable, you know? Like, I don't know, maybe too relatable. Like, I don't really want to watch a bunch of people try to get the spice back in their marriage on these shows. Like, there's kind of a lot of that, especially on this one, because Whitney and her husband, her older husband, are kind of doing the same, and it's like, blah. But I did like when Angie was saying, like, I don't even know you. I don't even know what kind of music you listen to. And he's like, I listen to country. You know, and she's like, well, it's very annoying. Country is very annoying. So she did know. She just hates his music. And then he says he also hates her music. And then she gets really upset about that. I'm not really upset, but a little upset. And this also led to
they argue about the Humpty Dance.
Yeah, my musical education, because I now know what the Humpty Dance is. I watched almost all of the video. So that was nice for me. And I just kind of pictured her bopping in her car to that, which is cute. And other highlight was a quote. I had a few quotes this round because Monica, when she was being incredibly childish and overdramatic at the Pioneer dinner, which is her signature behavior, and I'm okay with that for the show. She was, you know, the whole thing and just being such a baby as always. And then when they're trying to announce this trip that is like her joint trip with Heather and she's backing out of it, she's like, and Heather's like, why don't you explain where we're going? And I guess it's like her home. Did she used to live in Bermuda or something? There's some, whatever. She has a.
Yeah, she went there every summer or something. Yeah.
She's like, we're all going home to hell, to the Bermuda Triangle where we all belong. And I like that as a little moment of drama that she brought. I like that quote. So I appreciated that. And then my last thing was like, we've seen Monica's house before, and Monica is sort of this, she's a new housewife. She's in a lower socioeconomic bracket than the rest. Maybe has fallen, maybe was probably a lot richer before her divorce. I don't really know, but just kind of got an outside shot of her house. And I was like, woo, like not to house shame, because that could be anyone's house. That could be my house. But I was like, that is not the average Real Housewives house. And I'm interested in both your opinions on like what it brings to these shows to have like one housewife who's relatively speaking poor, like absolutely not actually poor, but you know, relatively speaking. We see that in a few other franchises too. Do you think it adds something, or is it a weird imbalance, or I don't know? I'm not sure where I stand on it.
I like it because it, you know, it gives in a lot of cases like when they come on in that position, they have this new platform and we get to see them like grow with that. Like they start amassing like, you know, partnerships and, you know, whatever. They launch business ventures and we get to see them grow and like become more like independently wealthy. So yeah, I like seeing that because it also adds you know, just a little bit of a benchmark, someone that has like a level of wealth that is, you know, more like comprehensible to the average audience member, and you can kind of see like what their position is and how they operate within the social circles that they wouldn't otherwise be welcome in. So seeing a housewife navigate, you know, the like the high wealth socialite, you know, functions that they put on and get invited to, I find that really interesting as well.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It is kind of like, for example, Whitney, like when she was talking about how like when she first met her husband was just like a housewife and then now runs her own businesses and stuff. Like it is like for someone like me who's a newcomer, and like I know so little about the franchises, like my impression of this show is just like, oh, they all just have a rich husband. So seeing them kind of navigate their own space in their own identity, like now knowing that a lot of them are like going through divorces and stuff, it's kind of interesting to see kind of like, and I'm sure like as this has probably happened on the show before, of like you see them find themselves and like, who am I now that I'm no longer attached to this person? Or even if they're still married, like, who am I? How can I be my own thing rather than just my husband is rich or my partner is rich?
Yeah, totally.
So like with Monica, for example, like it sounds like, yeah, like she went through a divorce or something, but like she's still trying to like be a mom and like raise her kids and like be her own thing. And I think it's just interesting to kind of see that when most of them, like, it's just like they're their own person, and then they're like they have like their rich little husband behind them. So it is cool to kind of see them like on screen, like figure out, who am I? Like, how can I be my own thing? How can I be my own entity where I can say I can stand on my own rather than just like I'm only here because of someone else.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, totally. Sandy, did you have any other highlights from Salt Lake City?
No, I think that was it.
Cool. Yeah, I want to go back to the Pioneer lunch. So the bonnets were amazing. I can't believe that it's season 4 and it took until now to get this, because that is just like so hilarious to see them argue in these bonnets. And Angie with her crazy Star Trek like sunglasses in them was such a look. I loved it. Yeah, and the way that Monica behaved, Sandy, you touched on, but one thing that I feel like we're getting repeatedly with Monica this season is like she is reverting into this like childlike state in any conflict. Like we saw that with her and Lisa a couple episodes where they clashed at Whitney's like business event, and we saw that when she felt like ganged up on at this Pioneer lunch, she like immediately shut down and was like, well, I'm not going to go on the trip. And like you said, she was like, well, we're going to hell, Bermuda Triangle, and just like seemed very much like how a kid or a teenager would interact. And it's interesting to see her respond this way, because it is so unlike the way that most housewives handle conflict on these shows, because they're playing the game. They're like trying to gain like a position or like use it strategically, or they've got some sort of angle. But with Monica, it feels like this pure emotional response in these situations that like stems from the fact that she's got this like toxic relationship with her mother, and up until this point all the conflict in her life came from this relationship that she has with her mother. And so to see her be like, this is how I know how to fight, it is by like being me as a child in this like child parent relationship. And to see her do that with all these other women who aren't necessarily all that much older, like, but they are of like a higher echelon of like social status, and so they do have this other form of leverage, and she is treating them like like a parental figure, and how she's like interacting and reverting into a child. I thought that was like a really interesting contrast to how we see a lot of housewives navigate these situations on these shows. So Monica, we found out on social media, got like first chair at the reunion. So she's sitting right beside Andy, and that's something that doesn't happen very frequently for like a first time housewife, and she fully deserves it this season, because I think she's been like bringing it in so many different ways. Yeah, I think we're just continuing to see a performance from her that is so compelling. I love Monica this season, and even if it's not the most like strategic, or like she's not the best like pot stirrer or anything, it's just it seems so honest, and I hope that she's back next season.
Yeah, me too. Totally agree.
Well, so I almost forgot, at the bonnet thing, was it Heather who asked, like the whole fight happens because it was Heather who was like, let's play this game. And I feel like she deserves the blame for the bonnet fest turning terrible. Because that was a messy as fuck question to ask.
Yeah.
We're on the fucking whatever it's called, the boomer sumer vehicle, and we only have so much weight, and someone has to get kicked off. Who do you kick off? Bitch, you knew what was going to happen asking that question.
Well, it's like you were saying earlier, Chris, like there's this template to these get-togethers, and the only thing you didn't mention was I've got a game, and it's always this kind of game. So if anything, if all else fails, you pull out the game. Yeah.
You know, that's what it was. Heather was like, "Oh, we're being cordial. We're having fun." We made a couple jerk off jokes because we had to churn the butter. Okay, all right, well, cool. Time to fucking be a bitch and create some mess. And I love how that was the first question too. Like she didn't even ease into it with like an easy one. It was just right out of the gate. Hey, who are you throwing off the wagon? And just it was funny too because you saw Lisa almost hold back, and then she was just like, Monica, because she's nasty. And then there was like something that Monica said back to Lisa, and she almost went like, yeah, and like almost brushed it off. And then like a second later was like, actually, you know what, bitch? And it just like goes off on her. Truly, Heather, you knew what you were doing. You think you slick, but I saw straight through your actions. I knew what you were up to.
I think this was an example of like producers showing their hand, because a lot of times when we get like one of these games show up, they will have like a set of questions that could actually go around the table a little bit, like where, you know, everyone is able to like say something that might not trigger a blow up, but it's going to be something that's going to like start like a little bit of problems between people and like seed some resentment. But the questions will go around the table, so we'll get like an entire round. But this was just like, it was like T-ball. It was like, who would you drown, Lisa? And Lisa's like, well, I support women, so I would throw off the person who doesn't support women. Monica, obviously.
I forgot about that, because when she was leading up with that, I was like, oh shit, we're about to have a cordial ass answer. When she was just like, I support women. So I thought she's gonna be like, I support women, so I'm gonna take one for the team and I'm gonna knock myself out.
Yeah.
But then she went with the I support women, so because of that, I would throw Monica off because she doesn't support women because she's nasty. Just truly a work of art that deserves an Oscar.
Yeah, so good. And I love how like hung up Lisa is still about this like Ted Bundy comment. She's like so upset that not that Monica compared her mother to Ted Bundy, but that she then compared Lisa to her mother, and is like so offended by this. I thought that was amazing.
And Whitney on her talking head just being like, listen, I don't know much about serial killers, but I'm pretty sure it was Jeffrey Dahmer who ate people and not Ted Bundy, which is just so true epitome of white people culture, where someone, when brought up, first off, serial killers were brought up, and then two, someone had a well actually moment about serial killers. I'm just like, I don't mean to nitpick, but Ted Bundy never ate anybody. I'm just saying.
It's funny because in my notes I've got like, Lisa, you basically said she killed people and had sex with them and ate them, and I've got a note that says, that wasn't Bundy, was it? And then immediately, Whitney says exactly that. So I'm guilty.
In y'all's defense, I also, when heard that, I'm like fairly sure he didn't eat anybody. I'm like fairly sure, only because like I have a joke in my comedy about serial killers, and I've done that joke for years. And almost always, 90% of the time, I will have a person after the show approach me and give me facts about serial killers that I never asked for, that I never wanted. I would have people correct me when I misspeak on facts about various, like, for example, I think one time I was like, Ted Bundy killed 36 people, and this woman approached me after the show very upset, being like, actually, he had 40 unconfirmed kills and this many kills. You need to get your numbers right. If you're gonna, I'm like, why are you? I need you to take a step back and repeat what you said, but listen to how stupid you sound, because you're correcting me on a murderer right now. So
I love baseball, but like there's some baseball fans that are like that with stats, where they'll like, well, actually about like a batting average or, whatever. And yeah, I can totally see someone doing that about a serial killer's like body count.
So they're like, actually, he killed 40. He killed more than one. Why does the number matter? The fact that when your murder count is not 0, why are we arguing about the semantics here? What are we doing?
For a joke purpose, like, also, right? Like, your joke probably works either way.
Exactly. If I was making... Right. Like, if I was making a documentary, then yeah, like I get that. But I'm just doing yucks for people who are on first dates trying to fuck. Like, I don't think we need to argue about numbers right now.
Amazing. The other scene that I had like written down here was this discussion between Lisa and Heather, which I didn't think was like particularly interesting. It was definitely like just setting up this scene that we're getting at the Pioneer lunch and kind of getting laying the groundwork for where Lisa stands with Monica and, this new unsteady alliance between Lisa and Heather. But they made the most of it by having this like huge spread of Wendy's, which was just like visually so bizarre to see them like picking out on like fast food. And I know that this is like a character trait of Lisa Barlow, that she loves like fast food and whatever, but it was just a visually like really interesting choice for me.
Okay, so I didn't know that about Lisa. I thought like, okay, this is the most blatant product placement I've ever seen in my entire life. But that makes sense, that she's always been about the fast food life.
Did you guys have any other final thoughts on Salt Lake City?
No, I'm good.
I don't think
Awesome.
I think I mentioned everything.
Well, thank you so much for doing this, Chris. Do you want to let everyone know where they can find you?
Yes. First off, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. Y'all, for if anyone liked what I said and the way I say it, first and foremost, you should follow me at Chris Mejia Comedy on Instagram and TikTok, and at Topher Mejia, Topher Mejia on Twitter and Twitch. If you're into Twitch stuff, I will stream myself either playing some video games, or most commonly, I just do like a lot of variety streams. So either like reacting to like weird videos on TikTok that homies send me because their For You page is really cursed, or watching like the cut button dating videos. Those are a lot of fun. Sometimes even doing tier ranking of how bangable fictional characters are. First one I did was the Muppets. To give you an idea of, it's obnoxious, but it's a fun time. And then if you live in the Seattle area, or you are popping through the Seattle area, I co-run a show called Good Comedy with the homie Bo Johnson. And we have a show monthly. We're actually having a really big show that we're about. When does this come out?
Should be coming out tomorrow, Tuesday the 28th.
Okay. Well, I technically can't announce it yet, but I'll just say there's a really big show at a very big venue that we will be putting on next month. That is the second annual version of what we did last year. So follow at Good Comedy Show to see us when we announce that. And then lastly, I as we mentioned up top, co-host of a podcast called We Didn't Get a Rose with the homie Mike Rosa. We used to recap Bachelor and Bachelorette, and then that franchise drove us insane. But we still wanted to do the podcast, so now we recap rom-coms. So we have guests who are usually comedians come on, pick a rom-com, and we recap it. So far, we've done Never Been Kissed, which is my girlfriend's one of her favorite movies, but truly an insane movie. And we've also done we just did Wedding Crashers, and then we did the one that has the dude from Entourage in it. Drive Me Crazy. Thank you. Drive Me Crazy. And then obviously, if y'all want to come on, please hit me up. Let me know. Would love to have you on. But that's where you can follow me and all of that stuff. And yeah, that's it for me.
Awesome. Sandy, how about yourself?
You can find me on Instagram at Corporeal Curios if you want to see some weird art.
Awesome. And I'm Craig Midwinter. You can mostly just find me here at Bravo Outsider on Instagram, on YouTube, wherever. If you want to find me personally, I don't know, you can add me on LinkedIn or something like that. Until next week, keep on wifing.